And this Fox News alert, the trial of the illegal immigrant who shot and killed Kate Steinle is getting underway right now. Jose Zarate admits shooting Steinle 2 years ago on a San Francisco pier, but he claims it was an accident. Opening arguments starting about 20 minutes ago. Zarate had been deported 5 times before the shooting. The case sparked a major debate nationally on sanctuary cities like San Francisco. Philip Holloway, now a criminal defense attorney, is a former assistant district attorney. He's also a former police officer who served as a legal advisor to the Georgia Sheriff's Department. Philip, thank you for being with us today. A little bit of news as we start. So apparently the defense attorney now has decided to call this and go after this as a tragic accident defense. What does that mean?
Harris, what they're saying is that he had the gun, but it was an accidental discharge. But let me tell you something, Harris. Triggers do not pull themselves. This defendant admitted that he fired the gun not once, not twice, but 3 times. I can understand maybe an accidental discharge with 1 round, but certainly not with 3. So I don't see a jury buying that defense because, as I said, triggers do not just pull themselves. And so I don't think that defense of accident is really going anywhere. But I will tell you this. Not only does this defendant have blood on his hands, but the city of San Francisco has this young lady's blood on its hands as well.
Why?
Okay, in the civil case that we know is going to follow the criminal case, in the criminal case, the sanctuary city policy, his residency status or immigration status is not relevant at all, and it will not be heard by this criminal jury. But in the civil trial, which is to come, the issue of whether or not San Francisco acted negligently is absolutely going to be part of the equation. All they had to do, they had information from immigration that said, look, we have probable cause to believe that this person is here illegally, and we request that you just hold him long enough for us to get there. They ignored that. He would not have been able to be on the pier to gun that young lady down on that tragic day when he did if they had just simply honored the ICE request.
Philip, can I ask you kind of a basic question, but I've wondered it all along. So this guy deported 5 times. What loopholes in our law system exist for him to come and go as a criminal?
Well, the loophole in terms of the ICE detainer is that the courts have interpreted it as not mandatory. So Congress could come in, I think, and fix this and say this is mandatory. We also could get immigration judges to issue warrants instead of it simply being a request by an ICE officer. But that's the loophole. These sanctuary cities are simply saying, look, this is not a warrant. This is simply a request from an immigration officer, and therefore we do not have to honor it. It's a decision that they have made. And in this case, when you've got somebody who's convicted multiple times, not only just for federal crimes,
yes,
but for state crimes and other things,
yes,
they ought to have known that he was dangerous, and they simply chose to ignore this ICE request and let him back out on the street. And if they hadn't have done that, he would not have been on that pier that day. He would not have had access to that firearm, and she would still be alive.
So tell me the landscape then. Are there so many people running around San Francisco and other sanctuary cities that they just can't keep up with them? I mean, come on, 5 times deported.
Well, the problem is that there's the porous border, okay? So you get deported and they just come right back in through any number of different ways. So that's one issue. And, you know, how you fix that is anybody's guess. Of course,
the president says we need a wall.
Other people want to do other things. Correct. So you have a porous border, but you also have sanctuary cities and now states that become magnets because let's face it, if you're a criminal, illegal alien and you know that immigration's looking for you, where are you going to go? You're going to go to a place that you believe is going to protect you, and that would be a place like San Francisco.
So, Philip, I mean, clearly this case now, just with people talking about it, becomes bigger than Kate Steinle's death, becomes bigger than this attorney saying that he wants to call this a tragic accident defense, which changes a little bit the scope of being able to get to some of those other issues like sanctuary cities. But we're still talking about these in big ways. So what do you say to the critics of the president, he wants a wall, and others who want to wipe away the funding for sanctuary cities? What do you say when they say, well, but that penalizes every illegal immigrant in the country? They're here illegally, but what do you say?
If they're here illegally, they're here illegally. They need to not be here illegally, okay? It's just basically that simple. There is a proper way to enter the United States. There is a proper way to migrate to the United States. If you cannot follow the laws and get here legally, you do not need to be here. So in my view, when local law enforcement receives an ICE detainer request and they fail to honor it, they are basically thumbing their nose at every person who came into the United States legally. They're thumbing their nose at the federal government. They're thumbing the nose at the citizens that they are sworn to protect in their communities. So, in my view, the real problem is the people who just want to come here time and time again and ignore our immigration laws.
All right. Philip Holloway, we appreciate your expertise on this day. We'll be watching this case. We'll report the facts as they happen. Thank you very much. We are